Here, our goal is to determine the size of angle X. Notice that we have a useful geometrical rule. It says co-interior angles add up to 180 degrees. But how can we spot or how can we identify co-interior angles? It says we can often spot co-interior angles by drawing a C shape. So let's draw a C shape. We have this line right here, this one here, and this one here. And so here we have a C shape that is drawn. Notice that we have a parallel line, then we have a parallel line, and then we have a transversal, which intersects the two parallel lines. And notice that this angle right here, whose size is 80 degrees, and angle X, they are indeed co-interior angles. What do we know about co-interior angles? Co-interior angles add up to 180 degrees. So since this angle right here, whose size is 80 degrees, and angle X are co-interior angles, that means that they must add up to 180 degrees. So how can we find, oh, what is the size of angle X? Well, we must subtract. We say 180 degrees minus 80. So we have 180 degrees minus 80, and that gives us 100. And so that means that the size of angle X is 100 degrees because co-interior angles add up to 180 degrees. Next, our goal is to determine the size of angle Y. Notice that here we have a Z shape. Now, what does a Z shape help us to identify? Well, a Z shape helps us to identify alternate angles. It says we can often spot interior alternate angles by drawing a Z shape. Now, what do we know about alternate angles or alternate interior angles? Well, notice that if we have this Z, the size of this angle is A, and so that means that the size of this angle is A as well. The size of this angle is B, and that means that the size of this angle is also B because they are alternate angles, which means that alternate angles, these angles are equal. So alternate angles are equal in measure. And so that means if we look here, we have this Z shape. Notice that we have angle Y and this angle here, whose size is 44 degrees. These two angles are equal. And so that means that the size of angle Y is 44 degrees because this angle is 44 degrees. Let's move on to the next question. Here, our goal is to determine the size of angle Z. The size of angle Z. Notice we have a useful geometrical rule which states angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. Notice that we have this angle whose measure is 44 degrees and angle Z, they are on a straight line. They're on a straight line and they're at a common point. Indeed, angles on a straight line at a common point add up to 180 degrees. And so that means that this angle, whose measure is 44 degrees, and Z, they are supplementary angles, which means that they add up to 180 degrees. And so, in order to figure out the size of angle Z, we're going to say 180 degrees minus 44 degrees. And 180 degrees minus 44 degrees is 136 degrees. And so that means that the size of angle Z is 136 degrees.